I'm going to try to do this. What is it? One stick weak, many sticks strong. Bless this mess. Alright. I don't know if I went too far yesterday, but that was one way of looking at it. Today I'm going to try to have more fun. I picked a wild carrot today, just a first year wild carrot, or the first of the second year. Looks like a little Charlie Brown Christmas tree. Tastes like carrot. This isn't carrot, this is wild mustard, the golden spike. I picked a couple days ago, but it's the same idea. First year carrot, green on black, green on brown. The plant coming out of the earth. But this plant went around the world. So before I start, I'm going to enjoy a few well-deserved spoils of war. It's a berry mix I bought down to the Shaw's store yesterday. Put in some water. I went too far yesterday saying that you only have two choices: be a rambling drunk or be a master. And I didn't mean like a master, I meant like a maestro. A Mr. Miyagi. But since last night. Like I wanted to try to have a little more fun, because that's part of life too, and I have a real hard time with that lately. These are some English muffins I left in the oven overnight, because I fell asleep tired Friday. A symbol, C, a symbol, S. Symbol. A symbol. This way it looks like a T. This way it looks like a circumpunct. Boink! The null circle. A symbol, sound, C for sound. S for sound, the wave. The null circle, the circumpunct. Boink! I was gonna do something there, but first, yeah, I'm gonna keep having this. It had strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, and blackberries. Used to love wild blackberries. Used to grow up across the street on Fall Mountain from my house. I used to live on the other side of Fall Mountain. Now I live on this side. Strawberries I already ate because they're my favorite, and strawberries. And the blueberries I can eat. But my teeth are rotten out because of the way I live my life. Because I'm older. I have a hole in this tooth that's been there for 20 years. And it's just now starting to hurt, like even when I brush. And I just had another tooth pulled, and it was very, very painful before I had it pulled. When they're in there breaking it apart and they're doink, I didn't want to get put to sleep. Mostly because I didn't want to wake up. When I got put to sleep when I was a kid, because I had a pilonidal cyst on my tailbone. Pilonidal, pineal. And oh no, wait, that's when I had I had the one where they numb the bottom half of your body. And I remember when they were taking, right before they took me off the operation table, they flipped me over. And I remember not being able to feel anything because my hands still worked. But from here down, I couldn't feel anything. And I remember squeezing my junk, and all of it. And I remember being like, what is that? When I was out of it. But I was like, what is that? And then I was like, oh my God, that's me. But yeah, one time when I was younger, when I had my wisdom teeth out, when I woke up, I was saying some pretty crazy stuff, and I'm even crazier now. So I was like, I don't want to be waking up saying all this crap. That's why I decided to just have a Novocaine hit and be So I was talking about the alcohol yesterday. Speaking of which, I'll have just a little bit of the dog that bit me. I had a little Jägermeister too last night. I'm gonna water it down because Can't tell the difference. But it wasn't just a prop yesterday. I mean, it was a prop, but it was true too. So yeah, it was a little bit too much about those are your two choices. Berries. Berries and water. You have some clear water. This is warm. I just microwaved it. Microwave background. The veil. Everywhere. But you put berries in water and it turns red. Jesus turned water into wine. Was he real? Are you real? Berries. Beer. Most of the time, we write on standard paper, which is 1 by root 2, 1 by root 2, which has the property every time you fold it, it keeps the same proportions. It's always in some way 1 to root 2, standard paper. A very someday to be famous man said, root 2 is not a number, it's an extension field. Why do I know that? Why did I find him? If you follow that curiosity, it's going to take you there. I forget who it was. It was one of the existentialists. The one who made pretty words. They didn't all make pretty words, but he made really pretty words. Holderlin? I can't remember. But he said he who loves, he who thinks, one who thinks the deepest thought loves what is most alive. Anyway, standard paper is what we normally write on, and I actually love root 2. It's an infinite, I shouldn't say infinite, but for me, it's been so long studying this one little, when you take a square, that's 1 by 1, that's root 2, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and so on. That's if we're dealing with squares and planes, not triangles. But once you get into just this, forget it. But anyway, that's standard paper. Legal paper is bigger. Legal paper has more to do with 1 by root 3. One by root 3, legal paper. The law. I've just got to make sure this is lined up right. Yeah, that's pretty good. Whoop. Oops. Mess this up. Bear, beer, berry, berry. That was the name of my first bear, who will be making an appearance shortly. My first teddy bear. I got him on Christmas when I was 1 year old. Berry. E. Bear E. Bear E. Bear. E. Berry beer. But of course, this hasn't really fermented very much. And what I usually do is I'll buy the berry bowl basket, and then I'll eat a couple berries, like on the way home. And usually, I'm lackadaisical, so then I'll eat a couple more berries, and then inevitably I'll dump what I have left into a little ball jar and add my water. And I like to cover it. Some people fill it all the way up and close it off tightly. Some people leave it open. I prefer coffee filters because I feel like it closes off enough oxygen to give the anaerobic fermentation, non-lactic anaerobic fermentation, and it lets in enough oxygen to allow for the aerobic fermentation. And I think that mix is good because that's like the blood, the oxygenated versus unoxygenated blood, like the red and blue. But there's different ways that unoxygenated blood can be unoxygenated. And there's different ways of anaerobic fermentation. And there's different ways of aerobic fermentation. It depends on the yeasts, which are still, yeasts are like space. Like if you can't be an astronaut, study yeast. Because there's a gazillion yeasts. And we boil it down to a few, like beer making, bread making, or nutritional yeast, whatever that is. I also picked some yarrow today. These were all just right outside my front door. I picked some yarrow today. Let's see, I'll show you the two different things here. Oh no, okay, we're still going. Now this is the wild carrot that I ate before. Little Charlie Brown Christmas tree. And of course wild carrots have a white tail. A white tail. It was, well, I've talked about the orange carrot before, and it's also elsewhere, but yarrow used to be used for hops, or like where we used to use hops, or the way we use hops now, and people like IPAs and hoppy beers don't have hoppy beers. I mean, I should practice what I preach there because I drink them all the time. I don't like IPAs anymore, but I used to, and but I still drink all beer pretty much these days has hops, but they used to use yarrow, which has different medicinal properties. And when it's growing outside, it looks a lot like a feather, kind of like the feather on an arrow. And it looks a lot like a squirrel's tail. And squirrels go hippity hop. Squirrels are amazing creatures: flying squirrels, red squirrels, gray squirrels, and chipmunks. They're amazing. And but yeah, if you watch a squirrel crossing the road, hippity hop, hippity hop, hippity hop. And they work, 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 work. But anyway, in that way, they're also similar to a rabbit who hops. And they both, well, actually, I don't know what squirrels like. I always associate them with acorns. But I don't even know if that's true or if chipmunks use acorns. But there's a lot of knowledge there. Acorn. So yeah, some yarrow, which I think you're not supposed to overdo. I don't know about this stuff, but I'm learning about it. But I'm hoping to display that there's a lot in language. There's a lot in every story has all of math, has all of health and nutrition, has all that moral meaning that we're looking for. So I want to talk a little bit today about what I've talked about before. Unfortunately, I think this is going to take a few videos. I was hoping to get it done in an hour, but I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, they used to use yarrow instead of hops, the real hops. I don't know who the other they is. I talk about them who've been around the world. But whoever they are did change things. Sometimes, though, the good masters because they can peer through time in a variety of ways, because they can see what's going to happen or what might happen. You know, you have this nebulous cloud of things that might happen, and all along the way there's things that are definitely going to happen. So you have these peculiar waves of the future, but they do collapse upon one line. All these spirals on spirals on spirals. So, when you eat the berries, berry, beer, bread, beard, I'd like to clear up a few things from yesterday. I hope I get to them all. One is when I said about the Egyptian pyramid. It was mean to the Egyptians. To this, today, there's a new Coptic Gnostic Christian church and pope in Egypt. That's a pretty nice thing, really. And that's not a disparagement to the current structure, or rather the current people inside the structure. Nobody's right. Nobody's right alone. We get it all right together. The perfect war won is the war where everybody wins. And it seems impossible. One of the things I pray the most for, or meditate the most for, is that I don't really want to talk about exactly the pain of my life. There's all kinds of ways to interpret it as to how actually painful it was. But some crazy shit happened to me. But it does happen to all of us. No one gets off scot-free. Just existing is a trial and a triumph. Every moment is a triumph. Every moment is a tragedy. Every moment is a test. Berry beer. Bread, beard. The bearded women throughout history. Do you know how many bearded women there are? A lot. All the people who, think of the slavery that we currently have women under. That they have to wax everything. Everything. But I've seen women with hair on their chest. I've seen women with big old mustaches. When I was in high school, I dated a girl who, even then, was regularly waxing her above her lip, her mustache. It's a tyranny. Perhaps one of the benefits of, the Muslim, I don't know what it's called, the thing they wear over their face. Some of those women were allowed to grow their beards. I'm not saying that justifies anything else, but I'm just saying they might be the only ones who really know what it's like, who really knows what they look like, as God made them. Hair. I'm wicked hairy. The age of Aquarius, the age of Aquarius. Hair. Aquarius. The man with the pitcher of water. So I talked about how we have to stick up for, we have to free the hermaphrodites. They're only allowed to exist as a culture as a subcategory. That's really at the heart of the gay, lesbian, bi, transsexual, transgender movement, to my mind. It's really at the heart of it. A hermaphrodite has more of a right, because they've been so subjugated, to at least be recognized. They are literally at the heart of the matter. They are where things meet. And in the same way, bearded women, there's a lot of them. I guess women probably know this better than men. So it's up to us to redefine beauty and what we call beauty and what we call ugly. Now, I'm not prescribing to live like this. I haven't taken a shower for a week. I wanted to so bad today. But that thing just kept saying, no, you're doing this. You're completing this triptych. As it turns out, it might be a quintuplet. I better check my time. Okay. All right. So I'm a half hour in. I got a half hour left. This is definitely going to take at least 2, maybe 3. Uh-oh. I just had a premonition. It's going to take 3. No problem. I wanted to say, oh shit. So, where do I start? Talked about the Da Vinci Code. Now we're going to talk about the Michelangelo Code. Remember that John Travolta movie where he plays Archangel Michael? A fat, cranky old drunk. But then remember that movie Phenomenon? This woman, Mary, she's very pretty. Do you think she waxed her lip before she posed for Michelangelo? I say yes. Calvin and Hobbes saved this cartoon back in '95. It fits. Why did I save it? Because of today. We do weird shit and we talk to ourselves over time. Yesterday I talked about sharks. How they live a miserable life. And then I suggested that our bad thoughts and our bad habits create sharks. And then one would say, oh, but what about evolution? Because sharks came before us and they are older than human beings. Well, what about space-time? What about those little lightning storms in our brain? What about, and I heard this on Radiolab, great show, that there was research that when the neurons fire that activate, the muscles that move our arms, that like our arms move, or, yeah, you'll have to check out the episode, but the gist of it is that our arm actually starts moving before the neuron is fired. And then the question is, well, does that mean it goes back in time? Well, we have that whole idea wrong, or we don't have it quite right yet. And there's a bigger pattern. So they're both reactions to something else. There's something that precedes. There's something that underlies, overlies. If we're this object somewhere in between the center of things and the outside of things, the center and the outside are always connected. They're always related. They're always in proportion. And we exist. If you perturb, if this circle was the edge of the universe and this was the Big Bang, as you perturb the outside of the sphere, as you perturb that, the center perturbs. But the center all perturbs in one spot. Like you can't see it, but it's all happening in there. And we exist in the middle. Everything exists in the middle as all these different lines. Picture a sphere that's made of water, like an earth with all water. And you keep pushing all the points around this sphere of water. All those waves ripple on the surface, but depending on how hard you push that surface, you're also sending things toward the center. So where everything interacts, that's where we are. Lost my underground train of thought there. All right. Michelangelo, Calvin and Hobbes. But I want to talk about Agnes, Saint Agnes, and I always say Saint Tom, which make it sound like I'm talking about Thomas Aquinas, but I'm not necessarily. Even though it's interesting that he's Thomas Aquinas. Aquinas. But I want to talk about Saint Agnes, who's an interesting story in and of herself, a tragedy in and of herself. And the whole story of Saint Agnes is that she grew up very rich in a wealthy, noble family. And she saw one of her servants or slaves praying. And she asked her about, what are you, praying to? Who are you praying to? And basically she was like, well, I'm praying to the, quote unquote, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember the exact words or whatever, but, God, number one. That divine central principle. The center of the circle, so to speak. Of course, Pascal says the perfect circle, whose center is everywhere and perimeter's nowhere. All these souls. But anyway, as soon as she heard the story, she was like, well, what about this, quote unquote, this God, that God, this God, that God. And she was like, no, just the one on top, so to speak. Now, I believe in the idea, basically, like those who have been around the world and been around, if you could see them as they are, if you could see what they do, you would think they're God. You would think they're God. And in a way they are. But their goal is not to stay there. It's to bring us all there. The good ones. But we shouldn't hate the other ones. We need to free them. And we can only do it together. Anyway, when Saint Agnes, she was quote unquote converted. Her family didn't like it. This dude who was suiting her didn't like it. And eventually they found a reason to kill her because she was associating herself with this, vagrant sect, so to speak, who dared declare that there's a central principle, there's a focal point that we're working for. And that we're headed to, that we come from. And they decided to kill her. And I don't remember the exact story, but they stripped her naked And as soon as she did, hair grew over her whole body. I think the idea of it was that her hair on her head grew down over her whole body. But what about a Bigfoot or a Littlefoot whose hair grew out from all over their body? So that was one of those Easter eggs put in that very, very old story. Hair, Aquarius. The man with the pitcher of water, John the Baptist. A crazy dude who stumbled around like a dirty fool in the wilderness, eating locusts and honey. He's the one who baptized Jesus. That dirty old fool. But it's all the same story. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Plus the Holy Ghost, God, is the Wizard of Oz. Is Agnes. Thomas, Judas. St. Thomas, patron saint of the rainbow, patron saint of lost causes, lost to be found, not lost like, oh, it's a lost cause, not like, oh, it's a pipe dream. It's a lost cause and we're going to find it. Judas Iscariot is scary, is carrot. That bad motherfucker. Bad enough to do the job that Jesus needed him to do. A coward, but a lion at heart. God leaves no one behind. No one. Nothing. It's a zero-sum game. But it's not a game. Judas Thomas, the old man who went to India. Lost causes, symbolized by the rainbow. Judas Iscariot. Where is God? He cried. We have killed him, you and I. Can't kill God. John the Baptist. The man with the pitcher of water. Aquarius. That crazy dude. That old broken down, wrinkly old Saint Tom. I say saint. I mean it allegorically. I usually don't refer to the person. But that's what I call him, Saint Tom. And I call John the Baptist Saint John. It's all the same story. And Saint Judas. Judah. The tribe of light. The three wise men. The three uncles of Why Does the Caged Bird Sing? At least the movie. I don't know if there's a book. Why does the caged bird sing? There's three uncles in that movie, and they are tough, and they are mean, and they love their niece. love her. And they won't let nothing hurt her. In The Wizard of Oz, well, actually now's a good time to get our characters. All this stuff is a way of thinking. I'm trying to organize my life, but this, the story moves on. But it's all a story. I don't save this crap. They say one man's trash is another man's treasure. As it turns out, my own trash is my own treasure. Or, the mess is the message. The mess is the Messiah. So yeah, I got a lot of stuff here I really like. We're gonna take a few pieces. Anyway. So yeah, we're gonna take some stuff here. We're gonna take some stuff here. We're gonna take that. Yep, I know right where to put that. Okay. And okay. Yeah, the most important things right off. Oops, losing my head. All right. Yep. Oh, we're gonna get our Tin Man. We're gonna get our Tin Man. Oh wait, nope. First comes the Scarecrow. First comes the Scarecrow. Yeah, we're gonna get the Scarecrow. Then we get the Tin Man. Then we get the Tin Man. Oh, lost my crown. Yep, we're gonna get the Tin Man. Who else are we gonna get? Well, then later on. Oh yeah, we get the Lion. I haven't forgot about Dorothy. No way. Feel the poppies. All right, I'll take a short little break from that. This was a field I went by where it was all spider webs. The whole field was just spider webs, spider webs, spider webs everywhere. And all I did is I just tweaked the saturation and so on over and over and over again in my computer. So it's not like Photoshop per se. It's just I have a really simple program, and I just kept saturating the color and adjusting the hues and so on until I came up with this picture. I don't know, there's some Gwyneth Paltrow movie this reminds me of, and I can't remember what one. But yeah, that would be a pretty cool way to harvest Kevlar. You just have to create the right environment, because spiders refuse to be herded, but they'll herd on their own if they're in the right place, so to speak. It's kind of like the opposite of marching the rats out of Ireland. Yeah, it was kind of a beautiful day. All right, so yeah, now, guess I had that out of order, but we'll legitimize it if we can. And then, yeah, then there was the Cowardly Lion. Popped out from behind the trees. Yeah, we're going to take this here. Yeah, get that there. So, oh, I don't want to drop it in there. Yep, that old Cowardly Lion. This is Barry, who I talked about. But we're going to pretend he's a lion. He was my first stuffed animal when I was 1 year old at Christmas. Good old Barry. Alright. Oh, don't drop it, Jeff. Don't drop it. Don't drop it. Alright, we'll set these down. For now, we're going to need them. Yeah, we're going to need them. Old Tough Tom. Tough old bird. And the Scarecrow. And all this hay. All right. So yeah, in the whole Dorothy deal, right? So these are the uncles. These are the uncles from The Wizard of Oz. Now, I'm not going to talk about The Wiz today because there's something very, 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 very important about The Wiz. And I actually haven't even seen the whole movie all the way through once. I think I watched the whole thing when I was a kid, and I've watched parts of it since. But it's gonna blow my socks off, and I gotta wait for the right time. Which sounds crazy, but that's part of being a time traveler. Yeah, you can reference that. That's a big deal. Alright, so those are the three uncles who protect Dorothy. You'll have to refer to one of my previous videos. I'm going to take off my tie, so to speak. Relax. But in one of my previous videos, I talked about a barrette. Actually, I'm gonna leave this for now. I'm at 51 minutes plus, and I know I'm about to run out of memory, so I guess this is a good place to stop. And I'll start the next one.